A blessed day. I'm Edwin Valles, your host for this podcast, Be Not Afraid, a podcast brought to you by the CBCP Media Office, where we listen to stories of Catholic LGBT persons journeying through their Catholic faith. We're now on our third part, so we're interviewing a brother from Canada, from the church in Canada, so Brother Hudson. So, Brother Hudson, would you like to greet briefly our viewers?
Good. Happy to be here. Hello, everybody.
So welcome back. So in the we've already covered two topics. So in the first part of the episode, Brother Hudson shared his story, his journey through gender identity concerns and same-sex attraction. And in the second part, he shared he shared to us whatever is happening in the church in Canada right now when it comes to all these LGBT ideology movements. So in this third part, we'd like to hear more like his insights as a Catholic person in Canada amidst all these going on in the social political landscape, and also more importantly, as a LGBT person himself. So I mean, how is he processing all these things, and what are the insights so far? Yeah. Maybe you'd like to. I mean, that's quite a lot. So, but maybe you can start us off with with your thoughts.
Okay. Here's what I'll start with. First of all, is how to process. Is that I remember there was a time when I used to take on the LGBTQ label and identity and mindset and self-concept, all of that stuff. And it's interesting that you said LGBTQ person, who is an LGBTQ person himself. I reject that today because I no longer am attached to the idea that being gay is who I am or being trans is who I am. Who we think we are is a massive, massive concept, because I've learned it impacted so greatly what I thought would be a reasonable way to pursue fulfillment. The thing is, after having such radically profound encounters with Jesus Christ, I wanted my fulfillment in him first and foremost. And as a result of that, I began to explore what it meant to grow in his church, which included the sacraments, which included growing in the fullness of holiness, looking into the catechism, accepting the wisdom of the church above my own. Gosh, I don't have authority over demons. I don't do exorcisms, but the church does. So I know that the church has an authority that I don't have, right? So it's pretty simple for me like that, to think of it like that. And just to, enter into the realm of the church and saying, how do I fit in here? And then, of course, realizing that the church receives me right where I am, regardless of my attraction, was a great thing about that. But here's what happened as I continued to grow in the virtue of chastity. It helped my anxieties and my fears go down. It mainly because I had this massive shift away from thinking that being a good Catholic means behaving perfectly. That's not the way to see our faith.
Okay.
Rather, we should see our faith as we should look at our faith through the lens of growing in the fullness of virtue as understood by the church. Meaning, are we choosing to respond to the proposals of the church to live a holy life? It's not about the church saying, you're not behaving good enough, so you are rejected. No, it's about us looking in the mirror and saying, wow, the church is proposing this and I am rejecting this. And I need to be honest with myself about the fact that I was rejecting the church. So that was a real changing of mindset that I had. And it helped me see the church in a new light. That I've learned that the church desires that I experience joy, and I've learned to trust the church. So I had to reconsider basically everything I knew about the church. And that included learning about creation, the order of creation. And so there's a couple of reasons. I've become unattached to the idea that I'm a gay person or a trans person, unattached to those, because the number one thing is one of those things is that our church teaches that every person is a person first. So personhood is one of the main ingredients. It's I'm a person first who experiences a particular attraction or inclination. So that's the first thing. So it was a matter of pursuing deeper truth and self-honesty that I arrived at my choice to let go of that. The second thing is based on my own experience of let's say healing from relational wounds and learning to become comfortable in my skin as a man, and just through pursuing chastity, I wasn't trying to change anything. I just was trying to see Jesus more. Same-sex attractions for me diminished, and transgender inclinations all but vanished. I only noticed this like in each case, like many months later, when I realized I wasn't pursuing, escapist tendencies to cross-dress or to escape to transgender fantasy, which, by the way, all of them for me was escapist tendencies from feeling like I wasn't good enough as a man. So anyway, but there was these changes. I didn't have these desires to escape in those ways. And also because chastity helped me learn how to relate more healthily to all people, including other men, I was able to finally find myself no longer like this away from other men, but closer and closer as equals, and then closer and closer as brothers. And this was very important because then I no longer saw the other men as some people to be idolized or to be sexualized, or to say like, wow, if I would only engage with them sexually, then I could like become like them, all those things, right? And so same-sex attractions, same-sex sexual attractions, same-sex romantic attractions, and transgender inclinations for me all diminish, right? And it was all as an after effect of pursuing the heart of Jesus and just incrementally surrendering to his will. Does everybody have their attractions transform? Of course not. But that doesn't matter. Our love for Jesus doesn't depend on whether our attractions or inclinations are transformed. Our love for Jesus depends on this thing right here. If we want to love him, and if we want to receive his love, his infinite and perfect love, which far surpasses what any human could ever give anyway. So the whole idea of like, do I see myself as an LGBTQ person? No, I don't. I've walked away from gay, so to speak. I've walked away from LGBTQ ideology. There's loads of other stories like this of people who are doing the same right now. In saying that, there's many people I know and who I love who aren't where I am, and they experience their same-sex attractions, and some of them are even in same-sex relationships. And my job is to try to love them as best as I can anyway, just like I would any person, right? But at the same time, hopefully radiate the joy that I found in pursuing a heart of chastity. Interestingly, if people aren't shown the beauty of choosing to live virtuously, there's no reason why they'd ever want to choose it for themselves, right? If they just see miserable Christians, if they just see people who are saying, oh, I got to hold on, I got to behave perfectly, otherwise, and they're miserable because they're just trying to like suppress behavior, they're never going to be inspired to surrender their heart to Jesus, So like that virtue approach, oh my goodness, we have to look at what it means to be holy, to grow in the fullness of virtue and holiness, and what sin is. Catechism 1849 talks about sin in terms of a concrete standard. Sin is a rejection of truth. Sin is a rejection of truth. Well, what is truth? What is written into creation, and that includes the physiological realm. And the bigger question that comes out of this that I had to accept was just that, again, my authority, everything I think I know about the church and everything, is my authority ought not to be placed above the authority of the church, even on teachings of faith and morals, even though the church has, made, there's been things that have changed, like the understanding of how babies are conceived, for example, like, or even how like, You know what I mean? When people say, well, the church changed, right? It's like, well,
Yeah.
when it comes to faith and morals, that's a different story. There's different types of changes. There's gradual growing in our understanding, like in pastoral ways. Like,
Correct.
for example, we've it's a good thing that we've changed in how we receive people who experience same-sex attractions,
Correct. Yes.
right? But the truth that has been written into creation, um, just as an apple tree produces apples, that's just what it does. It's about what is written, and I mean that just needs to be seen for what it is. Otherwise, you're fighting it, and when you're fighting it, you're not at peace. And then when you're not at peace, I mean, what's that a mark of, right?
So you
So
mentioned about changes in pastoral approaches. So I think maybe you can share to our podcast viewers what have you undergone. So in terms of pastoral approaches towards brothers and sisters who like us experience same-sex attraction or possibly gender identity concerns.
sure,
So
sure. Well, I think one of the number one things is just like any topic, right? We have a duty to strive to love like Jesus. Now, Jesus receives people where they're at, like he receives all of us where we are at. But there is a but. Jesus never leaves anyone where they're at. Now, does that mean it's our job to try to like force someone into a box or out of a box? No. But because that would be an imposition of our view of the faith, an imposition. But can we propose things to, let's say, broaden the set of narratives that a person might explore in their pursuit of self-discovery and pursuit of deepening self-honesty? Absolutely. We can receive people where they're at without that does not imply that we accept and celebrate everything that they desire and think about, and that they want and that they think is great. We're not celebrating ideas. We're just saying, "I'll receive you where you're at." But we also have to have some foundations ourselves in terms of even the basics, right? Like we have to understand that the mere experience of a particular attraction or inclination is not in and of itself a sin. So it's not like the gay sin. Like, what do you mean? Experiencing attraction has made me a sinner? I mean, I'm a sinner for other reasons, but where's my, how is my free will being playing out here? And I will say in my story, my choices still made an influence on me, but it's not like I chose same-sex attractions. I don't think anybody chooses their attraction, but the choices we make still make a difference in how we are formed, such as my choices to enter into pornography contributed to my isolation, which made that longing for relationship with other men all the more strong. Well, guess what that turned into, right? Same-sex, romanticized relationships. So we have to understand that we shouldn't make any assumptions about what it means when a person might say, hey, I'm gay. Do you still love me? Maybe they're just expressing that they experience those attractions. Maybe they're expressing that they're wondering how they could fit in. We don't know that it demands that they have lived a particular lifestyle pattern. A lot of people talk about the gay lifestyle. Well, what is the gay lifestyle? For me, there was I never entered into physical relationship with another man, but because I might say same-sex attractions are a part of my story or my history, people will make assumptions that I was promiscuous with other men. And that's not okay, because when we make assumptions about people, we drive a wedge between them and us. We destroy the little hope of real relationship that could be built. So we have to slow down or not even make those assumptions. Don't make those assumptions. Instead, just let people share their stories. And those stories will make us uncomfortable sometimes, but that's an opportunity for us to grow in virtue ourselves, right? We're not there to fix people. We're probably going to be impacted by listening to people in a way that might be healing for our own journeys, right? We're there to grow together and walk with people. Can we walk with people without serving them cheap platitudes like, love the sinner, hate the sin, things like that? what they tell people is, I don't want to listen to your story. I would rather just speak these little phrases to you so that you go away. Okay? We can't do that. We have to ask ourselves, is this contributing to a relationship? And I mean, there's some people who are going to push people away no matter what. That's true. But if we can at least try to craft our thoughts and our words and our listenings in ways to build relationship, then that will be better than if we serve to destroy it. Because Lord knows that there are a lot of people who are rallying against the church at protests and this and that, who are there because someone broke their relationship with them, and they have tasting betrayal and the suffering of betrayal, and they're angry at the church, and they're angry at the actions of the people of the church. Do you know what I'm saying? So, what might happen in our interactions might not be a perfect result, whatever that looks like, but the Lord knows the effort that you put in to building a restoration among his people. And I mean restoration of oneness to the family of God. Do you know what I mean? The Lord knows that on our heart, and he'll reward us accordingly for that, which, by the way, is to help us enter heaven so that we can become prayer intercessors for the rest of humanity on earth, which is a self-giving thing. Some people say that trying to get to heaven is selfish. It's actually not. It's about greater self-service, self-giving to the humanity. But anyway, just learning to listen more to people and allowing ourselves to become uncomfortable, and at the same time never letting ourselves become emotionally manipulated, because there are some people out there who will give conditional statements. If you really loved me, then you would do this. Well, no. You would never accept that in any other piece of our lives. And we shouldn't accept that here. It's not okay to be emotionally manipulated. And we shouldn't do that either, right? I love you. I'm so happy that you took the time to share this part of your story with me. I've always loved you. And, I'm here to listen. And I've got some ideas when you're ready, if you want, but right now I'm just so happy that you trust me enough to share these intimate details of your life with me. It means a lot, and I'm really moved.
Yeah. So wow, that's quite packed. So first, so I just attempt to recap the main point. So first is meeting people where they are. So that's very important. But again, pastoral accompaniment presumes a journey. So there's a starting point and a destination point. I think that's what a lot of the supposedly pastoral ministers miss. No? So like Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ does not desire for people to remain where they are, but to draw them. So it's very important. And then, but the third point that Hudson emphasized was relationship building. So it's really the great enabler for this accompaniment. So there. So thank you for sharing that. So likewise, I myself, so I've been with Courage since 2014. I had to journey through pastoral approaches. Like any Catholic, I started with this should be like very moralist, Sodom and Gomorrah story, etc. So, but I also had to journey through that and really reflecting on how Christ accompanied me, on how he was very patient with me. So, I was very active in the gay lifestyle for 22 years. So if he was patient with me, I should be as patient to others as well. So, I think we're about to wrap up the third part of the interview. So maybe any final words or messages to our podcast viewers in the Philippines, so your brothers and sisters in the Philippines.
I guess, you know what? Let's keep praying that people will desire to taste the tender-hearted love of Jesus Christ. There is nothing that will replace that, and that can never fall below what we're doing in the day-to-day. It has to be anchored in that prayer and that surrender. And you know what? That's what brings the joy, and the joy is what transforms the world.
Yeah. So thank you, Brother Hudson. More than you have shared a lot of wonderful insights and helpful ones. But more than that, thank you for the gift of your witness. No? So I think a lot of the podcast viewers, our podcast viewers, are seeing the joy that you exude in your love for the church and the growth in the virtues of chastity. So as your experience was, no, so exactly, you diverted back to the Catholic Church because of the witness of other people and that sense of communion. You are actually have incarnated that for us now. So thank you for that. So again, for our podcast viewers, so if you want to watch more stories of persons with same-sex attraction and gender identity concern, the important point is listening. So do watch us again in future episodes. So by liking and subscribing to the Faith Watch TV channel and YouTube, so that you can be alerted for any future episodes. So until the next interview, I'm your host, Edwin Valles, and exhorting you. So to whatever storms and difficulties or confusion that you're going through, listen deeply to the loving and assuring words of Jesus Christ. It is I, do not be afraid.